Master Your Mindset Radio, episode 76.
Welcome to Master Your Mindset Radio, the show where we empower you to conquer limiting beliefs and transform your world with your gifting and purpose. Now for your host, Elizabeth Nader.
Hi friends, welcome back to another episode. I'm sitting here looking out the window as I record at about 2 feet of snow, and it's still coming down, and I don't know when it's stopping. But this nor'easter we're experiencing out here on the East Coast inspired my guest Mindset Minute today in my Mindset Academy from friend George Koloff to talk about snow as it relates to mindset and limiting beliefs. So all the snow coming down, I mean, it's crazy. It started last night. And if you just sit here and let it come down, we're going to end up with over 2 feet. And that's almost impossible to shovel, right? It's a lot more work to get rid of it, whatever you're doing, shoveling, plowing, snow blowing. And he talked about how it's true with limiting beliefs. As we experience them, as we face limiting beliefs, we need to deal with them. If we allow them to pile up, it becomes that much harder to get rid of them, that much harder to expose them in our life. I mean, the truth is, it is a lot like snow that's piling up, that there is a layering effect to our limiting beliefs, and uncovering them and peeling them back, much like an onion, is a lot more work than just dealing with them as we face them as they come into our life. But here's some truth. A lot of the limiting beliefs we deal with, and these are the things that hold us back, the things that we have allowed into our subconscious. If you follow me at all and you listen to what I talk about on my podcast and my teachings, if you've read my book, you know I talk a lot about how limiting beliefs become part of our subconscious and how our subconscious is in control the majority of the time. And sometimes we've allowed these limiting beliefs to take root and take hold, and we don't even know anymore that they're in operation, but we see the world through that filter. And much like the snow that has piled up, they have a tendency to layer and layer and layer to the point where it's very hard to begin to dismantle them in our life. It's almost like, think about maybe a scaffolding that we build of limiting beliefs that hold us back. And before we know it, our worldview is totally skewed and based on lies and based on toxic thoughts. And really what we have to do is this process of examining, rolling back, and challenging these limiting beliefs in our life. It's like a process of uncovering yourself. You know, people say they want to find themselves, discover themselves. The truth is, you're right there. You don't need to find yourself. You just need to uncover the real you before the world told you otherwise, before you picked up all of these limiting beliefs along the way. So I think this snowstorm has inspired that. And I agree with that analogy. I think it's much more difficult if you don't challenge these limiting beliefs as they come in. So what do? Well, as children, we pick these up along the way, and we don't know enough, and we don't have the tools and the skills to challenge them. You may develop those now, hopefully, and you, if you're a parent, can help your children with that. But most of us didn't have that growing up. So now as adults, we see patterns in our life. We see behaviors. We see toxic thoughts that recur, issues that recur. What do? We begin to identify each limiting belief, each lie behind challenges that we're having in our life, and issues that just don't seem to go away, or mountains we can't seem to overcome, something that we keep facing that's not working, something that we keep just getting frustrated with, maybe an issue in our business, in our career, an issue in a relationship. We need to see that there is likely a limiting belief behind that. And it's very possible that if that limiting belief has been there long enough, it has been buried, right, under feet and feet and feet of snow, under a lot of other limiting beliefs that frankly get generated from the original limiting belief. This is really what happens. It becomes this piling on effect. So I can't give you all the answers in one podcast, because this is a journey, isn't it? It's a journey of identifying the limiting beliefs in your life, uncovering them, and being willing to understand that not only do we need to address them and replace them with affirming beliefs, but we have to develop a system for catching them early. Because it's not just childhood where we collect limiting beliefs. We collect them through adulthood as well. We collect them when we fail at something, when we have a relationship that doesn't work out, when we have a friendship that ends, when we have a business that we have issues in, a career that challenges us, a child, whatever it is, we go through grief, we go through loss, we go through difficulty. And as a result, if we're not careful, if we don't renew our minds, if we don't put up a gate to our spirit and our subconscious, we can continue to collect limiting beliefs, and they'll just keep piling up like the snow outside. So 2 things to tell you today to just encourage you. One is that those limiting beliefs that have been with you since childhood, many of them, you can replace them with affirming beliefs if you're willing to identify first where you are. To be honest with yourself, there is a limiting belief in operation in my life. That's why I'm having an issue in a specific area. You need to identify who told you that. Where does that limiting belief come from? You may never find it out exactly, but many of us know where it originated from. And that process of doing that will often strip the power away from that limiting belief when we identify the source of it. We need to be honest about what it has cost us to believe it. What will it cost us in the future if we don't let go of that lie and that limiting belief? And you have to come to a point where you decide enough is enough. I don't want to believe this anymore. I need to see change in my life. And you begin to then visualize what your life would look like if you overcome this limiting belief, if you change it. And then you need to go through a series of a commitment in your life, of a series of discipline in your life where you agree to forgive whoever you have to forgive. You extend it. You forgive yourself. You ask for forgiveness. You control your thoughts. These are all disciplines. This is all a decision. I'm going to forgive people. I'm going to forgive myself. I'm going to control my thoughts, my thought life, what I allow in, what I allow to stay. I'm going to watch what I focus on, my inputs and my outputs. And at that point now, we've created a healthier environment where we're not focusing on that limiting belief, where we're not focusing on all the things that limiting belief will cause us to meditate on, that we decide now we're going to replace it and challenge it. So there is a discipline involved in that where you decide you are going to move away from the thoughts that swirl around that lie that you've believed and that limiting belief that you've had in your life in operation for far too long. At that point, then, you will begin to replace that limiting belief, replace those negative statements, replace those negative thoughts with something affirming. And when you start to do that, you'll find yourself choosing love, choosing to express your emotions, choosing to go deeper with people, choosing to be honest with yourself, choosing to be honest with others, because you will then desire to be living in a state of truth rather than believing these lies and embracing these limiting beliefs. You need to then practice daily prayer, meditation to keep yourself from slipping backward. You need to maintain daily positive expectations that will challenge that limiting belief. And every time resistance says to you, you can't do this, go backwards, go back to where you were before, and go back to that limiting belief. You have to face and overcome that resistance. And you will continue to do this entire process your whole life. What I just gave you there, if you haven't read my book, was a quick summary of the 14 steps I talk about in how to conquer limiting beliefs. And so I wanted to give you the high level view. It's an entire chapter. Get the book. It's called Master Your Mindset, The Master's Way. And when you get it, you'll start to learn about the importance of understanding what you can control in your life. And once you've been able to identify limiting beliefs and recognize that they are there is a process, and it's in chapter 4 of my book, for you to overcome them, to conquer them. But it's a process you practice because we do this every day in our life. We do it every day. Because much like snow, if we don't challenge a limiting belief that's threatening to take root in our life, that's threatening to become part of our subconscious, become part of that area that really takes control, that we don't even realize, that affects our worldview, the way we see things. It's our default view of the world. If we don't take charge of that, then these limiting beliefs become layered, much like the snow outside in a storm, layered one on top of another, to the point where it overwhelms us, to the point where the work that we have to do to unpack all of that can seem so tremendous and so completely overwhelming, frankly, that oftentimes we just give up. So let's do two things. One, let's clean up the past. Let's be honest with ourselves, face those limiting beliefs, and go through the process to conquer them. And two, let's make a promise that when a limiting belief threatens to take hold in our life, that we challenge it right at the outset. And how do you know that? You know it because it's a thought that enters your head that does not give you peace. It's a thought that enters your mind that makes you feel fearful. It's a thought that you have that makes you feel like you should sit down and shut up or hold yourself back. It is not a thought of peace. It is not a thought of forward movement. It is not a thought of affirmation. It is not something that is affirmative. It is something that is negative. It is something that tells you to be smaller. When you recognize those thoughts coming, they're now, when you see them, when you don't actually see them, right? But when you see them virtually in your mind, they're in your conscious realm. If you stop them there, if you say, no, I don't believe that, I believe this instead, they will not take root and drop into your subconscious without you even noticing. You have to take control. You have to take charge. You have to shovel that snow early and shovel it often during that storm. I mean, it's a good analogy as I'm looking at this piling up, but it's true. We make it so difficult for ourselves because we don't take care of things at the source. I don't know if it's laziness or just a desire not to deal with emotions sometimes, or we've lost our fight or whatever it is, or it's easier to believe the bad stuff, which is very true. And we just let it pile up and we let it pile up. And all of a sudden now we are buried under our limiting beliefs. And by the way, we're still there. We don't have to discover ourselves. We just need to uncover ourselves, right? Get to our real self before the world told us differently. Through all of those limiting beliefs we've had really just allowed to pile up in our life, the experiences we've had, the negative emotions, the negative and disappointing experiences, the pain, whatever it is, the trauma, and all that comes with that we never healed, that we never challenged. And it's been there for many of us since childhood. And it's piled up and it's piled up and it's piled up. So I'm saying to you today, do you want to unpack all of that? Have you had enough? Have you had enough of the negative consequences in your life? Are you tired of seeing the world through these negative limiting beliefs? Are you ready to get rid of the things you've been dragging around? And while doing that, develop a discipline and a structure and a way to challenge those limiting beliefs going forward that threaten to take hold in your life. It will change everything for you. But to do it, you have to be honest with yourself, you have to be aware, and you have to be willing to act. So I hope that challenges some of you today. If you want to dive deeper into that, get my book, really reach out to me. This is stuff that is life-changing, and this is what we need to do in order to experience purpose and really the best life that we can have. We are meant to live a life that is fulfilling, no matter the challenges. We are meant to live a life that fulfills our purpose with our gifts and talents, no matter how difficult that can be at times. But when we give up and we just fall victim to those lies and limiting beliefs that hold us back, we won't experience that. It is your choice. It's not my choice for you. It's your choice to make. That is the control that you have. Exercise that control. I hope you guys have a lot to think about in that area and a lot of meditating to do. I challenge you to decide to move forward and to heal and conquer those limiting beliefs. Have a great week, guys. Talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to Master Your Mindset Radio. Before you go, if you want to be part of a free online community of like-minded individuals for support, resources, and inspiration as you conquer your limiting beliefs and pursue your purpose, go to elizabethnader.com/community. That's elizabethnader.com/community, or search for Master Your Mindset Academy private group on Facebook. Looking forward to seeing you online.